Jon Jones reportedly wants 6 months to prepare for Tom Aspinall. For a guy that Jones described as just another Dominic Reyes or Ovince St. Preux, those were the comparisons made, he sure does want a lot of time to prepare for him. If he was so bad, if he's just another overhyped prospect, then why isn't he just fighting him? Oh, well, there's too much to lose. But you just said that Tom isn't even good, so if you can't lose, then there's nothing to lose. Oh, but his fans are back at it again. Jon Jones is so methodical, might be the most analytical and meticulous fighter in the history of combat sports besides Floyd Mayweather. Aspinall has no clue what he's in for if he gets the fight. And that's one of the problems as well. We might not even get the fight. And you're using two fighters as your best and brightest examples that are notorious for cherry-picking opponents. Two fighters who, despite being undefeated, have ruined their legacies. Another part of the reason he didn't want to fight Tom is because he's younger, and he's just looking to build his name and his legacy off of Jon Jones. But 6 months makes that issue a whole lot worse, because Jon isn't getting any younger. Jones seems hell-bent on fighting at MSG again. It's something that he's talked about before, being a New York boy, growing up, training in the area early on, saying, I'm gonna main event that place one day. You got your wish, Jon. You beat up one of MMA's most beloved fighters, past their prime, with no knees, and he still took a round off you. That's your legacy, pal. Dragging Grandpa out of the retirement home, trying to put him down, but you keep hitting the broadside of a barn. Eventually, he tries to help you out by standing bladed in front of you, as to say, Please, Jon, put me out of my misery. And you keep shooting blanks. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic was botched euthanasia on a grandiose scale. He was brought out there as a sacrificial lamb, plus 600 odds or minus 600 for Jones, whatever it was. He was counted out by everybody, and Jon had trouble. You know, that's something that Jon Jones fans seem to forget, is they said they were going to steamroll Stipe. They said one double leg and the elbows, and Stipe's gonna give up. Funny enough, he didn't give up, and then he won the second round. And then he wasn't doing horrible in that third round either. But because their guy won, they think that they can rewrite history. They think they can tell us, oh no, we always knew that Stipe was gonna be hard. He's the greatest heavyweight of all time. You picked him out of a lineup because he looked old. Because he was the only old guy left. JDS, Kane, everybody's off fucking around in the GFL, Arlovsky. DC's at the desk. All the other tenured heavyweights are dead or retired, and you thought you could cherry pick one to beat because you thought it would look good on your resume. So you don't get to come out here and try and tell me down. Stipe versus Jon was in some ways a little bit of a moral victory for Stipe, because this is the guy that everybody's saying is the greatest fighter. He's pound for pound number 1 at the time. Now he's pound for pound number 2 because people have realized that he fucking sucks. And Stipe was neck and neck with him. The Stipe that beat DC beats that Jon Jones. Easy. Age parity, you get 36, 37-year-old Stipe with 36, 37-year-old Jon. Stipe fucking chins him. You know, he's more agile, he has hips. That was the issue, was he couldn't get past Jon throwing his fucking fingers in his face. So he made a conscious decision. He said, I can either go and get fucking eye surgery again, because DC already poked him. He had to go get eye surgery after, I believe, the first fight, second fight, somewhere in there. Took like a long stretch of time off to get eye surgery. So I can either undo my surgery, or I can just hang out at range and try and pick him apart from back here. But that was the only method of victory that was going to help Stipe, was going to be him blitzing in. And he had success against Jones. But you can't do that consistently, because eventually, Jon is going to end up 2 to 3 inches inside another man. And I'm not talking about recreation either. If we're looking at some of the other longest fight buildups in UFC history, McGregor and Aldo had a media tour, and then a cancellation, so Mendez was subbed in there, and then they got back around to it. It was supposed to be 4 to 5 months from the announcement, ended up being closer to 9, but there was an interim title fight in there. Vanderlei Silva versus Chael Sonnen was 4 years in the making, but that's because both guys got old and left the UFC and popped for steroids. There was multiple factors. I feel like if the fight ends up getting made, Jon isn't doing media. He isn't like a McGregor who thrives off of the crowd and he needs to spend time getting into his opponent's head. He's not like that. Jon's current mentality, and he's had it for 6 to 7 years already, but basically, he doesn't owe anyone anything. He doesn't owe people media appearances. He doesn't owe people signatures. He doesn't like doing media. The media is always targeting me. The media is always angry at me. They're always asking me about Tom. I'm not going to do your interview because you're going to ask me about Tom or you're friends with Tom or whatever. He doesn't owe anybody anything. Not Tom, not Dana, not the sport, not the fans. It's selfish, in my opinion, because Jon is perfectly capable of fighting. We haven't even heard anything about Jon having nagging injuries. You know, like if he came out and said, oh, my knee, or oh, my pec's hurting again, or anything, you know, that can delay a fight a little bit. I wouldn't believe him, but at least it's something. No, he is simply running for no reason. Wasn't that he fell out of love with the game? He still wants to fight, but he wants legacy fights. Remember who he said he wanted after Stipe? He said he wanted Alex Pereira or Derek fucking Lewis. This is our GOAT. Cherry picking. At the time, Derek, I don't even know if he was ranked top 10 then. He's not ranked top 10 now. If he is, he's on the periphery. I think he's still ranked. He's having trouble beating cab drivers. He can't counter wrestle very well. He keeps getting beat. I believe Derek's on a fucking 4-fight losing streak, 3. He's won 2 of his last 7, some number like that. And that was his big legacy fight. Oh, he's the knockout leader. Jon just looks up fun facts on Wikipedia, and he says, oh, that's who I want to fight. Oh, who had the most heavyweight title defenses? Stipe at 3. Oh, who had the most heavyweight control time? Let's get Kane out of fucking retirement. Who's the knockout leader? I want Derek Lewis. Come on. At heavyweight, we already gave him his layup and his quote-unquote legacy fight. Alex Pereira losing was bad for the sport in the short term, but if he can somehow course correct Jon into fighting Tom, solidifying Tom as the next big star kind of taking over for Pereira, all will be forgiven. Tom has all the tools. He has the finishing ability, the hardcore fan base. He loves staying active. He has been very conscious about building a brand. All these things kind of mesh together to where Tom could have superstar potential. And I would also say that he is pretty likable, and that's Jon Jones' fault. By trying to bully Tom out of the fight and avoid him, he has given Tom a metric ton of attention. He's made him a sympathetic underdog, fighting against the combined forces of Jon, Dana, and the UFC media machine. 3 things that the average fan aren't very keen on. In about 150 days, a little over 5 months, Jon will have become the longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time, surpassing Cain Velasquez, who sits at 896 days. From his title win over JDS till when he lost it to Fabricio Verdum, he had 4 fights in 2.5 years. Jon won the belt 2 years ago and only has a single title defense with no other fights happening in the near future. Tom Aspinall's dad, the voice of reason, did an interview where he said, for me, if the guy doesn't want to fight for the belt, vacate it. Tom is not bothered about fighting Jon Jones. Jon is just another body in the gym, another bum in the shower. I can't even lie, that line is so cold. Earlier this week, we saw footage of Ciryl Gane getting out-wrestled by Nassourdine Imavov. I'll give him a little bit of slack. I don't think Ciryl Gane's very good, but people are kind of overrating this footage. Ciryl Gane had boxing gloves on. It's harder to break waist locks when you have gloves. You really need to dig in with your thumbs like a seatbelt cutter to break that lock. Can't do that with boxing gloves. It makes it very hard to defensively wrestle, especially when somebody's already at your hips. But still, a pretty bad look for Jon. That's your best win. Getting out-grappled by a middleweight. The same guy who got out-grappled by Volkov. Not to diss Volkov. Phenomenal fighter, but he's not built for wrestling. He's a long, lanky kickboxer. So we think that Jon's probably going to hold out for the MSG card. When is that? MSG has a contract with the UFC to where they have to have an event there every single year. Always happens in the fall, usually November. 6 months before November puts us in May. So realistically, Jones versus Aspinall could be announced at UFC 315. Bilal Muhammad KOs JDM. The crowd begins to riot. Beer rains from the heavens. The Bell Center catches on fire. The beer extinguishes some of the fire. Smoke fills the octagon. Through the haze, we see a glimmering head in the distance. Dana White emerges from the smoke and announces Jones versus Aspinall 6 months in advance. Then we get radio silence from Jon as he is off in Dexter's laboratory. Now, I am not a biologist, I am not a chemist, I am not a mathematician, but I looked into steroid cycles a little bit, and a very common trend is 12 weeks on, 12 weeks off. Now, 24 weeks puts us at 5.5 months. 3 months on steroids, 3 months off to hopefully get clean enough to pass a drug test? Does it seem out of the realm of possibility? I don't quite think so. Let me know your thoughts on the Jon Jones 6-month camp to find himself in Thailand situation. That's still a cliche, right? People going to travel and find themselves, whatever that means. Lots of people tend to find themselves in Thailand. That must be a coincidence, right? Never mind. Just yap about Jon in the comment section. That will suffice. Shout out to Shauna for being a vampiric enjoyer. You too can get your name read out at the ends of videos just like them by becoming a member today. Like, comment, and subscribe for more MMA content. Thank you all so much for watching. Mark November on your calendars and have a good time.